Happy New Day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Today is the big day, Election Day. Congratulations to everyone that voted, and congratulations to everyone that didn't vote. I received some questions, and I found them very interesting, and I want to answer them. The questions are: what can we expect with the emotional response of the election during this transit? How will the future or fate of people's lives be affected by this election? Should people vote or should they not vote? Well, I'm going to start with that one. I understand that we live in a world of duality, and whenever there's something going on, there has to be two sides to it. There are going to be people who choose to vote for their reasons. I've heard of people voting because of the previous generations having to fight for their right to vote, and they want to make sure that those generations didn't go through all that for no reason. And I've heard it's people that don't want to vote because they feel that their vote doesn't matter and everything is already pre-planned. And it's so many various reasons as to why people are voting and people are not voting. And my thing is, follow what feels good for you. If you feel good about voting, then go for it. If you don't feel good about voting, then don't. It's okay. Whatever you choose to do, everything is already written as far as I'm concerned. Everything is set up. And I've learned that through my studies of human design and seeing that there's a blueprint to everything. Everything that happens within this matrix, this reality illusion that we live in, has a code behind it. And I've talked about that before. And when you start to see the timeline of things and you see how evolution is moving in this type of pattern and this type of course, things can look very chaotic when you're in it. Things can look like there's no order to it. But when you take the time to step outside and really look at the timeline of events over the years, over the generations, things start to come together and make sense. And for me, what I like about these questions is that it triggered me to think about things that I didn't think about initially. And I started putting, different pieces together that were giving me a clearer picture as to what is going on. And in my video speaking about the transit that we're in right now until December 24th, I spoke of how support systems are breaking down. Things that deal with communities and different types of aid and religions, things like that are starting to break down, because where we're at in evolution, we are getting ready to end a 400-year global cycle that started back in the 1600s. And this information, you can find it if you're aware of human design, or I'm sure if human design is breaking this information down, I'm sure astrology, if that is more of an interest to you, I'm sure astrology has information that can show that we are getting ready to enter into a new global cycle. And that global cycle starts in 10 years. It starts in 2027. So seeing that we're at the end of this global cycle that deals with community, that deals with support and being dependent on others for survival and things like that, the way that I'm looking at this whole election situation, we have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I haven't watched the debates, but I've taken in enough headlines and heard enough opinions from people to know that this isn't an accident for those two to be the face of the possible faces of the United States of America. This is not an accident. And I have thoroughly went into the human designs of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and I thought about doing videos on them, but I just haven't been prompted to. So I don't know if I ever will, but I'm clear as to how they are designed and why they operate in the manners that they do. And because we're moving into this new global cycle that starts in 2027, and we're moving out of the frequency of being supported and communal efforts to, take care of the tribe and organizations and all of that. It's not that these things are going to disappear immediately, but we are already starting to see the breakdown and the ending of this 400-year cycle that is coming to a close. And when we enter into this new global cycle, the frequency is going to be about independence. It's going to be about selfishness. And both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have human designs that are very self-absorbed human designs. For those who have been paying attention, I'm sure you all can see that in the things that they say, the way that they act, and you can see that they are very much individualistic people, and they are about having individual power. You can tell that their focus is not really on the community. Their focus is not really on others and the benefit of others. So the way that I'm processing all of this is a indication and a result of the fact that we are getting ready to move into a new frequency that is going to deal with the type of energy that these two candidates are already showing us. So we have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And I've heard certain people say that they don't want to vote for either one of them, but they're just going to vote because of their other reasons dealing with tradition or past generations and all of that. But they really don't like either one of the choices that are available. I feel that the fact that these two types of people are candidates for presidency, it is planting this unconscious seed that is letting people know that they need to learn how to become more self-sufficient, and they need to get out of the idea that support is always going to be available, because over these next 4, 8, 10 years, we're going to see a breakdown of more things that deal with support. And to have, whether it's Trump or Clinton in office, I think that's when it's going to hit a lot of people that the world isn't going to go back to the way that it was before, when there was more support available and there was more community type situations going on. Evolution has its process, and everything that happens with us as human beings is a result of this bigger program that is evolving, whether we want to evolve with it or not. I can't remember what time of the year the elections were going on back in 2008, and I didn't even think to look it up before doing this video, but whether it happens every 4 or 8 years around this time or not, I definitely don't think that it's a coincidence that the election is taking place during this particular time and the transit that we're in. And when it comes to the question of the emotional response of this election, because of the personalities that we're dealing with that are competing, and because you have a large percentage of the world focused on these two individuals, there's going to be an emotional upheaval regardless of who gets into office. And this is what I feel. I could be wrong. Based on the awareness that I have when it comes to looking at things from my point of view and following the transits, understanding how, these energies work, and looking at the nature of the situation and seeing how people are having emotional upheavals over celebrities, celebrities like Lil Wayne and all of these other situations that aren't even as big as electing a president for a country. So you have so many people that are against Trump, so many people that are against Hillary, and either way, there are going to be emotional responses that are going to send a wave. They're going to send a wave across the planet. And like I said, I could be wrong. This is what I feel. But like I said, I think that it's going to take for Obama to no longer be president and for us to be saying President Clinton or President Trump. It's going to take for that to be the new reality, for it to really hit people that, oh my, this is what we're dealing with. This is what's going on here. And I feel that it's also going to push a lot of people who have already started to disconnect from the idea of voting and depending on a president or depending on someone or something outside of themselves to make decisions for them or help them to survive and all of these different things, is going to push even more people into that understanding, because the global cycle is pushing us that way, and these situations that are a result of that are pushing us into that whole idea of individuality and really getting yourself in alignment and tapping into what you can do as an individual. What is your uniqueness? What are your gifts? Because we're seeing that depending on other people for jobs, depending on other people for anything that deals with survival is diminishing. And a lot of people are just going to walk away. A lot more people are going to walk away from this dependency on government. And I feel that we're going to see a lot more things with our government break down and diminish as well. And it's going to cause people to panic. Of course, be very angry, frustrated, emotional. And we know where that can take us and where that can take people around the world when it comes to expressing their frustration and their anger over something that is affecting the way that they eat, the way that they live, anything that deals with survival. So it's something to think about. And even though this transit is temporary, it's going to have a long-term effect, because every single child that is born from October 30th through December 24th, they are going to have those particular activations that I spoke of. And they're going to be imprinted with those energies as they get older. So what's taking place during this transit is being embedded into all of the children that are going to be born. And of course, that's going to carry far into the future. So it's a lot of different things that come with this. And the question about the fate of people's lives based on this transit and this election, it's all about your awareness. The more aware you are and the more you understand how necessary and important it is to be able to make decisions for yourself and be able to follow what your body is telling you, that allows you to navigate and to maneuver through any obstacles that are going to pop up in your path during your lifetime. Because our body is always moving us in the direction of survival. And that's why it gives us alerts. That's why it tightens up. And that's why you feel resistance when you're not supposed to do something, because it's going to be detrimental to something within your life, whether you see it immediately or whether you see it later on. Sometimes we can make decisions that don't show themselves to be a mistake until 20 years later. But your body more than likely told you before you had to go through those 20 years of going downhill, hey, don't do this. Your body probably tightened up and said, this isn't a good idea. And you may have did it anyway, felt really good for 10 of those 20 years. And then you're locked in at that point, and then things just started going in a whole nother direction. And then you realize on the 20th year that, oh my goodness, I should have never put myself in that situation. And there are many cases that have that type of time frame. But when you understand how you're designed to operate, when you understand your formula, it just makes things so much easier, so that no matter what's going on in the world, you don't get caught up in situations that could be detrimental to your physical, mental, and emotional health. So when it comes to your fate, I don't know how deep I can speak on that, but the best thing that I can say is just listen to your inner spirit, whatever you want to call it, listening to your heart, listening to your inner authority, listening to your gut, whatever it is, that thing on the inside that's not up here, but that feeling on the inside that tells you don't do it, or that tells you yes, go for it. That's the best thing for me that I found, that I have, at least. I can speak for myself, and other people who have gotten in tune with how to listen to their bodies, they eventually say the same thing. And all of us, whether we follow our gut, follow our heart on a regular basis or not, everyone knows that the body is always talking. The body is always guiding and letting us know what is good and what's not for it, for you. So get in alignment. Get in alignment with yourself. Feel the self-empowerment start to unfold, because it's not about working for anything, but just being aware and trusting in yourself. That's the self-empowerment, and it just naturally comes out of you. And I know I spoke about that in a previous video as well, but I just want to reiterate that based on this question, because change is constant. And the more you know, the more you can get in the flow of how things are changing and moving. And it's nothing wrong with bettering yourself for the purposes of being able to maneuver and to not feel that your fate is at the hands of something outside of yourself. You don't have to feel like this election or anything is going to determine the way that you live and the way that you eat and the way that you survive for the rest of your life or for this upcoming time period. And the more you put your authority in the hands of somebody outside of yourself, then the harder it is for you to trust yourself. The harder it is for you to listen and to follow what your inner guidance is telling you to do for your own benefit. And just like when you're on an airplane and they tell you in case of an emergency, you need to put your oxygen mask on first and then tend to the small children or the elderly. In life, you have to embrace being selfish, because if you don't have you together, if you're not in alignment with yourself, then you won't be able to help your family and your friends. So when it comes to this question and everything in life, when you get yourself in alignment and you feel that self-empowerment, you have more to offer and more to give to others. and better ways to help others. So overall, when it comes to these questions, by the time people see this video, I'm sure the election will be over. So if you voted, good for you. If you didn't, good for you. When it comes to the emotional response, for those that have the awareness, just sit back and observe and watch it play out and see for yourself what happens. I've made my predictions, but I'm open to things mutating and changing at any given moment. So who knows? But the way the pattern is looking right now, there's going to be some emotional upheaval. There's going to be some angry people. It's going to be people celebrating because there are supporters of these two candidates. So it's going to be people celebrating, people angry. There's going to be something that releases emotionally because it has to. And by knowing that we are moving out of this global cycle that deals with support and deals with this tribal energy and community and organizations and all of that, is going to take people who are operating in their integrity and operating as individuals who are putting themselves first and who are self-empowered to be able to help and support other people. So these outside agencies that are supporting people right now, we have to be mindful that nothing lasts forever, including those things. So it's going to take individual efforts and people who are strong and self-empowered to make things happen and make things available for others. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more independent businesses for a reason. It's a part of this evolutionary process. So a lot of people want to make sure that their friends and family are taken care of. And when it comes to the older people that we have on the planet, psychologically, this election and the things that are getting ready to change after this election, that are already changing, is going to cause some confusion in their minds, because they're used to a life that operates based on an old frequency. So we can expect to see people that aren't going to be able to handle these changes. We can expect to see transition with a lot of the older people. I mean, that's life. That's life. But we can expect to see a lot of energetic confusion for those that aren't going to be able to grasp and keep up with these changes that deal with the way in which our society and the way in which our governments and the way in which these outside agencies are operating. And like I said, nothing is going to just happen overnight, but it's going to happen quickly. 2017 is pretty much already here. A lot of us are like, it was just January. And here we have less than 2 months left within 2016. So we can feel that time is speeding up. We can feel that the consciousness is raising rapidly. And with that is a lot of chaos and confusion and clashing. A lot of bumping heads of the old with the new. because the pressure is on. So the more we move forward, the more people are going to integrate the need to be self-empowered and to really understand who they are at an individual level. So that's pretty much what I had to say in response to these great questions. Thank you. For those who are interested, if you would like your free DNA genetic blueprint, you can go to my website, www.freeyourmindtoshine.com, and everything is there. I do readings, and I also do sessions where I teach people human design. You can find that information under the services tab. And I also give free readings for referrals, and I give paid commissions for referrals. So all of that information is on the website. Feel free to browse around, and if anything resonates with you, don't hesitate to contact me. So that's about it. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Free your mind to shine. Until next time.